Hey everyone, Duke here, and today we're going over this week's Grandmaster Nightfall, Corrupted, as well as the weekly weapon, the Militia's Birthright. We're going to go over the three most challenging parts of the Corrupted Strike, the Elevator, the Ogre Room, and the Boss Room. But first, let's talk about Militia's Birthright. This is a kinetic grenade launcher and will be available for the only time this week. There's a few perks that I would recommend considering, such as Slideways, Ambitious Assassin, and Lead from Gold in the third column, and Autoloading or Frenzy in the fourth column. The role I'm going to be looking for, though, is Lead from Gold and Autoloading, along with Blinding Grenades in the second column. Autoloading Holster is one of my favorite perks in the game, as it allows me to not have to waste time reloading, and instead allows me to quickly switch between weapons when in the heat of action. And Lead from Gold is going to allow for this weapon to have a huge amount of ammo, gaining ammo as well whenever you pick up heavy. I usually use my Truth Teller in the energy slot whenever I want a blinding grenade launcher, but having a strong option in the kinetic slot will be great for flexibility, and with the changes next season, don't forget that the blinding effect will be able to stun unstoppable champions intrinsically without any champion mods, so that's going to be a huge update and benefit for this weapon. If you want more of an ad clear or a higher damage option, Ambitious Assassin and Frenzy with spike grenades is going to be another role that I'll be on the lookout for, so definitely keep that in mind as another option, just with a different use case. Slideways also works really well as a perk, especially on these single-shot grenade launchers, but I just find it a bit awkward to use for my own playstyle. If you do like sliding and shooting though, this is probably the single strongest option, allowing you to reload your weapon just off of a slide. Now let's talk about this week's strike, Corrupted. To start, note that this strike has Arc Burn and quite a few of each shield type, along with Overload and Unstoppable champions. The loadout I've really enjoyed this season is a Kinetic Overload Scout, along with Storm Chaser for heavy, and Dead Messenger as my unstoppable grenade launcher, as well as taking advantage of its ability to switch to all damage types to cover match game and break all shields. I've also found success with Arbalist in previous seasons. Just note that there are no barriers in this strike, so you'll be down a champion stun. However, having one person on Divinity to melt champs, bosses, and pretty much just about anything that's not a red bar is super helpful and will also make dealing with overloads a breeze. You'll definitely want Lucent Finisher to keep your heavy up, and don't forget Taken Spec if you have it on your legendary weapons for that additional damage, as almost every single enemy in this strike will be taken. If you don't have a Storm Chaser, an Arc Linear Fusion Rifle like Sail Spy Pitch Glass can work. Just note that Arc is giving you that extra 25% damage from the Arc Burn, so Arc is definitely recommended. I'd also really recommend some sort of Arc Linear if at all possible, but I have had a few people run Gallahorn in runs that I've done, which has worked okay, even though it's not Arc. I'd just be afraid that running an Arc Rocket that doesn't have any sort of built-in tracking or a tracking perk because of Sedia's movement in the boss room may be allowing for some misses and just not doing as much damage. So I'd really recommend an Arc Linear. Sail Spy Pitch Glass is an okay one. Storm Chaser is definitely the top tier recommended one though. Now let's talk about the strike itself. Starting with the elevator, I like to have two people holding charged balls before activating the start of the room. That third person will then be the one that activates the room. The first set of adds that come in here will be unshielded, so you can use your grenades and weapons to easily clear them out. And do note that you can drop the ball if needed to help clear out adds until the shielded enemies come in on the second wave. As just mentioned, the second set that comes in will have the immunity shields, so this is going to be where you want to use those two charged balls to break all of the shields. Work on killing all the enemies, leaving one alive in order to be able to repeat this process for the second set of two spawns. When you're leaving that one enemy alive, have one person bait that enemy around the room while you get two more charged balls ready, and then kill that last enemy once you're ready. Once again, the first set of spawns will be unshielded, so use your grenade or again your weapons and you can drop your ball if needed. Just make sure to not use the ball until the second wave comes in. When that second wave does come in, again, throw the ball to break the shields, and defeat all remaining enemies. This strategy is simple but extremely effective, as this elevator room can go extremely south quickly if not prepared, or can go extremely quickly and cleanly with a solid strategy and some focus. Next we have the Ogre Room. This room will have you going back and forth between dimensions until one of the bosses has been defeated. This strategy that we employ is to take out the ogre in the main first dimension first, as quickly as possible, so that you stop getting teleported back and forth consistently. This will also despawn all enemies in this main room once the boss has been defeated. When you first come up the stairs into this main room, look for the single unstoppable spawn, which will either be in the far back left or back right of the room, and melt it with your heavy and the div, and make sure you stun it first, of course. If you can, try to also take the boss down before the teleport happens. If you're able to, awesome. If you're not quite able to, just fall back to the stairs and wait to get re-teleported back to this main light room to finish off the boss before doing anything else. Once you've killed the boss in the main, more lit up room, go to the room on the right side, as this is where you're going to want to set up to protect you from the dark room boss as well as the Shriekers. At this point, you will not get teleported anymore as long as you've killed that first boss, and all adds in the light room will be despawned after you've finished the dark room. All of the adds you need to deal with in the dark room will be coming up the single staircase in front of you, which makes them reasonably easy to deal with. Do note that there will be a mix of solar shields, void shields, as well as 2 unstoppable champions. This is where I love having Dead Messenger, as this can shine extremely well here, being able to break both solar and void shields, switching between the shield breaks, and also be able to stun the unstoppable champions with Unstoppable Grenade Launcher. Once all these adds and 2 champions are defeated, take down the dark room boss. Do note that these Shriekers will still be here throughout this entire room, so make sure to not just go out in the open or anything, but as long as you stay in this right side room, there's very few spots that the Shriekers have an angle on with how much cover is there. After killing this boss, make sure you make your way quickly to the portal in the back. You can either just move quickly to it, or have a hunter use a smoke grenade to give you invisibility past the Shriekers if you want to be extra careful. Once you run through this portal, turn around to give yourself some space from the 2 unstoppables in the next section, as the whole light room will now have no adds, so you can use that whole room as space and cover from the champions and the next section of the strike. Finally, we have the boss room. Your home base will be the platform right before the 3 main islands, or in other words, the island that you reach first before starting the encounter. To start, have one player jump forward to spawn the adds, and then jump back to help kill the first set of adds from this main quote-unquote home island. Next, once all the adds are defeated, have someone go to grab the ball and throw it to one of the players that is still on the home base island to charge it. Have them hold the ball until everyone is back on this island, and then once everyone is back on the island, break her shield by throwing the ball at her. Very importantly, do not do any damage to Sedia here, as you will potentially end up wasting half of your damage phase for later, as well as push her across to the left side of the room where she is more of a threat. Instead, just let the adds spawn and jump into the middle island, like don't even shoot them on the right island when she's over there, just so no splash damage hits her at all, and then proceed to take them all down on this middle island. Once they've been defeated, run across to the far side of the middle island. Sedia should follow you across here. Once you are here, if you have a well or a bubble for added damage, or a tether for a debuff, you should absolutely be using it, or pretty much just any insta-damage supers, again, use them. But your overall goal is to pump as much damage into Sedia as possible. It is very possible to one-phase her here and just kill her here, but that will require very precise aim, and it is totally okay if you do not kill her here. Note that she will teleport directly behind you after a few seconds, and make sure to keep shooting her until her shield comes back and she becomes immune. If you do kill her, congrats, you're done, you beat the strike. If not, when you do see her go immune, immediately run back to your home island and take down all of the enemies that just spawned from here. Keep in mind Sedia will now be on the left side of the room and can potentially snipe you, so try to keep your cover between you and her as much as possible. Once all of these adds are defeated, you can move back forward to grab the ball and break her shield one more time. A few seconds after her shield is broken, the portal will open to the second half of the fight, so be ready to go right through. Making your way to the final boss platform is pretty straightforward. Just take down the enemies as you reach them, and make sure to avoid the flying rocks when you're going from island to island. At the final boss platform, I'd recommend focusing on the few enemies that spawn in before anything, because even though it's just a few weaker enemies, they can split into more and more if completely ignored, and can take you down pretty easily. Once the adds are down, go ahead and grab the ball, throw it to someone to charge it, and then use it on Sedia to break her shield, and immediately melt the rest of her HP and kill Sedia. Either way you were able to defeat her, congratulations. You've cleared what many would consider one of the scariest GMs in the game. I hope this guide made it just a bit less scary and showed you how to make it a lot cleaner and consistent for your runs, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.